Welcome.
The New Mexico Momcast. I'm Vanessa Bush.
And I'm Becca Lesko-Toops. The New Mexico Momcast is a show from ABQ Mom for local moms as we navigate raising our kids in the land of enchantment.
And oh, are we talking about the land of enchantment today? I think with this guest we had, it made me just fall in love with Albuquerque all over again.
It really did. Just hearing someone that is kind of the land of enchantment, enchanted and enamored by our city, and where we live and the things that we take for granted was like, oh yeah, that's right. That is amazing. It's really good. And I'll also say she warmed my heart because she said she was listening to this podcast before she moved to New Mexico.
I have a tear in my eye just thinking about it.
Yeah, it was really sweet. So we have Olivia Mead, who is an ABQ Mom contributor, and she is relatively new to New Mexico. And we interviewed her specifically for that reason, just to get that take in perspective.
I can't wait for you guys to hear. Well, Olivia, welcome. I'm so glad that you've joined me today, and I'm really excited to just get to know you a little better.
I am so happy to be here. It's a little fangirling because I was listening to this podcast before I moved here when I knew I was moving here, and I was like, give me all the resources. So it's so rad to be here.
Oh my goodness. You just made my day. You have no idea. So I mean, that's really what the focus of what we want to talk about today, because you are newer to town. How long have you lived in Albuquerque? It hasn't been super long.
No, we are coming up on our year anniversary of moving here. So it was March of last year.
Not even quite a year. I call it, it's almost your Albuquerque-versary.
I know. I actually want to do a little reel about like the top 5 things, that has made me, into Albuquerque, or like a definite resident here. I'll figure out the right language, but I've been thinking about that.
Love it. So what brought you and your family here, and what made you decide to settle here?
Yeah. So this is very radical. Okay. What I'm about to say. I moved here because I wanted to. There was no job. There was no family. We decided to, and I feel like when I tell that to people, they're shocked, right? You always move somewhere because you had to, something brought you there, right? We knew this was a cool place for several reasons. I came to New Mexico just on a visit with my family when I was younger, and just the Southwest called to my heart. There was some sort of spiritual, I have core memories of the visit. When I was, a few years back, I came here to work with the FBI with my nonprofit, Yoga for First Responders. They had their biannual in-service training here. And once again, I was like, oh my God, this place, it felt like home. It was just nuts, that feeling. And then again, I experienced a pregnancy loss a few years ago, and on the due date, I wanted to go on a personal retreat. I wanted to be alone, be in nature. I was Googling, and I found this perfect one right in between Santa Fe and Albuquerque. Flew here. Once again, had this transformative experience. I was like, God, wouldn't it be cool if I could live in New Mexico? Wouldn't it be cool if I was allowed to? That's the feeling I had. My husband got to know this area because with our nonprofit, Yoga for First Responders, we were working with Albuquerque Fire Rescue. And we were doing their wellness days, working with their behavioral health. And because of someone I knew from, different areas of my life who ended up getting the job with AFR in the wellness division, who knew me, that brought me out, just crazy coincidence, right? So I couldn't go out because I was pregnant. And so my husband went out because he also is one of our trainers, and he got to know the people in the wellness, the public safety, behavioral health, and wellness world here, and was just loving them. Just fantastic people. We became friends with them. And so when we were in a position that we wanted to find our homestead, find our real home base, we were like, why don't we go to the place we keep being called to? Let's go to Albuquerque. And we were in a position to get up and go. We were living in Colorado. We had a real estate situation when the interest rates went up. We had been building a house for a year when the interest rates were cute. And then when it was done, we couldn't sell the house that we were in, and we were like, we were able to close on that house thinking, okay, we'll sell this one in just a couple weeks. It was like 6 months of 2 mortgages in Colorado. It was not pretty. So we ended up selling both of them just to get out of the situation. And we were like, okay, we have a clean slate. Where do we go? And we wanted to go to a place that made us happy. And that was New Mexico.
That's a great story. I mean, not the house part. That's hard.
Everything happens for a reason.
So I moved here in 2009 with the economic downturn then, and I had big issues with house things as well. So I feel you. That movie, The Big Short, that's my life.
Oh God. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Anyway, everything's fine now. It's great now.
Yes.
I wanted to. I want to talk more about your moving journey for sure, but just a little side note, take a little branch here and talk about this yoga for first responders. It's so interesting. How did that come about? I worry a lot about people in high stress jobs, military personnel. Like, I'm like, are they getting the care that they need to,
No.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's probably right. So I would love to hear how this nonprofit came to be.
Yeah. So my husband was a firefighter. That's not why I started it. I started before I met him, but he was a firefighter for 13 years. And so I met him through yoga for first responders. But I started to get interested in bringing yoga to that population because I've been teaching yoga. When I started, I'd been teaching for 10 years. Now I've been teaching for over 20 years. But when I started yoga for first responders, I was so sick of teaching in studios, yoga studios, that were more concerned with the brand of clothing I was wearing and the playlist than this actual teaching of how to regulate your nervous system. At the end of the day, yoga is intended to master your mind and optimize the functioning of your entire system. It's not meant for stretching or flexibility. It's meant for you to regulate this very powerful tool that you have, your mind and your nervous system. And it's so powerful, but we're not given the manual on how to use it. So it sort of takes over and we become a victim to our own mind. And I'm sure everyone listening can relate to that. Spiraling thoughts, not being able to sleep because your mind is going, right? And so we need to train the mind. I always equate it to like training a puppy to sit and stay and to focus, So that's the true essence of yoga. No one in a studio or a gym wanted to hear that. I was so sick of that. And I'm like, okay, what population really needs these tools and would kind of want to hear this information? And I started with military and veterans. So I did that first. And then I realized, wait a second, first responders are doing this day in and day out. We unintentionally don't even think about them because we know we're going to call 911 and they're going to be there and they have everything together, but they're still humans. They're still built the same way we are, same heart, same brains. They're seeing unnatural things. We're not meant to see what they see, and they have not been given the training on how to sustain that career without detrimental effects. So that matches the missing training that they need for these intense, first responders see more trauma, loss, death, destruction in one day than we may see an entire lifetime. And there is no training on how to process that. So yoga inherently, traditional yoga, is a way of processing stress and turning it into resilience. So all I did was take traditional yoga, tailored it to be culturally informed and job specific for public safety. And I started this when I was living in LA. It started to work. People were coming to the yoga mat. They were enjoying it. The way I teach is pretty straightforward and militant. So it was, culturally acceptable. And since then, I now have 200 licensed instructors around the whole country who've recently hit the benchmark of having trained 100,000 first responders. And we have 2 research studies now that back our training protocol, showing that there's been a dramatic decrease in post-traumatic stress symptoms in those who have gone through our program. So, and we just had a ribbon cutting. So the Hispano Chamber of Commerce came in and did a really lovely ribbon cutting for our studio space here that we have, which was just like, oh my God, I get goosebumps now thinking about it because of that kind of support that Albuquerque has for local businesses.
Albuquerque does do a pretty good job there. They really do. So I am just so impressed that you took this thing you noticed and turned it into a movement. That's amazing.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Yeah, really impressive, and kudos. Good for you. And if anyone knows any first responders out there, send them Olivia's way. So, but back to kind of your moving story. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast, I just feel like you stepped into the community here. So you jumped in with both feet. And I feel like you have made this place your home so fast and so quickly. But moving can be so challenging. How did you go about finding your community? I have a feeling it's kind of like a mindset thing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, first of all, I love it here, and I can talk more about that later, but like truly, I just feel I resonate here, and I really, really love it. And I had been poking around with the ABQ Mom Club and the podcast. I knew of ABQ Mom long before I actually did the move, because that's how I got all my advice on where to go and what to do, So, so I think that helped to really start to enjoy it here. But I will tell you that when I first moved, I remember we first got into our little townhouse and I'm putting things away. And I was crying, and I was crying because I was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable because moving in general is hard.
It's hard.
Deciding to move based on your intuition, and that's it, right? It's easy to tell people, oh, my husband's job brought us here, or my family, or this or that, and everyone's accepting that. Yeah, okay, I understand. But a lot of people, including our family, when we said, this is where we're moving, there was confusion. Why? Let's bring up all the crime and all this stuff to deter you from moving there. And so I'm going against my family and friends, right, who are advising me to stay comfortable. So I put myself in an uncomfortable position, right? It did not feel good those first few days. I didn't know where things were. I didn't, and I was questioning myself, like, God, what if I made the wrong choice and once again uprooting my life, But the mindset piece, one thing I have learned in life is in order to evolve as a person, you have to get yourself uncomfortable. When we stay in our comfort zone, it's a fine life, and that's fine. But my family and my husband and I want more than a fine life. And so I had to force myself to get uncomfortable. So as I'm upset, feeling weird, feeling whatever I was feeling, I also said to myself, yes, this is what you're supposed to be feeling now. That's okay. It doesn't mean that it's wrong or bad. Be in these feelings. It's new. It's scary. It's like going off to college, right? You want to go to college and you're happy, but you're a little sad and homesick. It's all too new for you. So I just let myself feel it as I slowly put dishes away from boxes. And honestly, it took like a week and I was like, boom, I'm in. Like, this place is awesome, But yeah, I think that the discomfort was definitely there, but the mindset was to walk through it.
I'm one of those people before, so we've lived here 15 years, but before that, we lived in South Florida near Miami, and it's just a very transient community. And I didn't feel like I fit in very well. I know I'm not like really a Miami girl. And anyway, but I lived there for 7 years, and I feel like I lived there the entire time, one foot in. And never, I was like, I knew we weren't going to be there forever. I knew pretty much everyone I met was on their way to somewhere else too. And I just never truly embraced it and really made it my home. And that made it very easy to leave when we did need to move.
Yeah.
But I always am like, what did I miss out on there? And so like, it was a real shift when we came here. It's like, okay, I don't know how long we'll be there. And here it is 15 years later. We're not going anywhere. But I'm going to make this my home and, be all in wherever I am. And that was kind of like the mind shift that I made when we moved here. And it made all the difference. Like, it made all the difference.
I've lived several places. I went to boarding school. I grew up in California, went to boarding school in North Carolina, moved to New York City when I was 18. I was on tour with a Broadway show for a year, moved to Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Iowa, Colorado. I mean, nuts, right? So I moved lots of places. I've been counting it. I'm like, oh my God, can I just settle, But what was interesting about all those places is kind of like what you said. I knew it wasn't forever. So I was kind of halfway in. The last place that I lived in Colorado, we were thinking like, oh, is this it? Is this where we want to be? And just both of us, I think we knew deep down it wasn't home. So I kind of half joined a little mom's group, not really, but something happened when I was here that I was like, knew this was going to be our home base. And I was like, I better get in there and get to know people fast because like, this is it. This is it. Let's go. And it was something that just happened internally. I think it was my inner knowing that this was the place I meant to be.
So good. So not only did you move to a new place, you also started a business in a new place.
Yeah, why not?
That's a really big step. So what inspired you to launch your business here? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So we have our little commercial space here is half candle company, half yoga for first responders. It's like literally split down the middle. And, we actually had both before. The candle company we launched in Colorado, and it was, we do IVF for our babies. And I say babies, we have one baby, we have embryos, so they're still my babies, and we're still working on them. So anyway, so when I had that pregnancy loss that I mentioned, right, that I went to New Mexico to kind of heal from, Eric and I needed to do something creative. Also, IVF costs $1 bazillion. We needed to figure out how to pay for it. So to kind of get out of our sadness, we started making candles at home for fun. And then I was like, what if we sold these and like it helped us pay for our next round of IVF, right? So we did start doing that and right at the end of 2020. Now, we were doing it in our kitchen and using our garage as inventory. And it was not fun. I ate candle wax on accident one time because I'm making them in my kitchen, it's terrible. And there's just no other way, to do it. And everywhere we've lived is so expensive that we could barely get our mortgage, done besides having a commercial space. But we knew being here, and when we moved to Albuquerque, we are working in a coffee shop because our kid goes to Bounce and Boogie. So we would drop her off at Bounce and Boogie. We're quickly working in a coffee shop. We go home to do candles. It was insane. We're like, we need a workspace because he works from home. I work from home running the YFFR organization. And so this commercial space became available because someone from AFR that we knew before we even moved here, and one of the reasons we did move here, because just amazing community, introduced us to his friend. His friend is the owner and maker of Gray Collective Hats, who was here in this strip. She said, hey, I know you're looking for a space. The space 2 doors down just became available. We looked at it. It was perfect. We could afford it. Thank you, Albuquerque. We could afford it, And so we turned our candle company, Flicker Mill Candles, into an actual little showroom with the factories in the back, the showrooms in the front. So you can walk in and look and smell all our candles. We're just launching room sprays. And we just got accepted to be on the wait list for the growers market. So I'm so excited about that. So basically this allowed us here to go from this tiny little kitchen business that we're barely holding on to the room and space to up level it to, and we changed our labels. I wish I had one here to show you. It now has the Zia hand poured in New Mexico. I'm so proud of that label. So yeah.
And congratulations to you for not living in a candle company anymore. That's no fun for anyone.
Yeah, it was
in a candle factory.
In a candle factory. That's what it was. It was it was hard to chill when you're living in your own factory.
Well, and it's easy to talk about all the good stuff, but maybe have there been any challenges to running your organization and the business, the new place, or just in general?
Yeah, Vanessa, I literally, before our conversation, I teach live stream yoga classes for YFFR. So I'll actually give you that link because it's free. You can just go on our app and take 45 minutes of yoga with me or come in person, because I actually have some folks coming in person while I'm live streaming. So I'll give you all of that information. But anyway, so I finished my live streaming class today, felt completely overwhelmed because I have to do social media for our candle company, right? I am a contributor for ABQ Mom, which I love. And I have things I want to write. I have my list of things I want to do there. I have some personal stuff I want to get done to prep for IVF, my acupuncture, things like that. I haven't been to the chiropractor for a while, all of this stuff. And I just felt, and also with businesses, everyone who has a small business knows, especially since we're so new at it, you're not really making a profit. You are just happy to break even if you do every month, And I was like, I got to go take a walk. Clear my head, be in the sun. So the challenges of small business ownership are endless. Trying to figure out how to keep up with everything. You have to stay consistent with your messaging, with your social media. So you have to stay consistent. You have to you have to keep thinking of new ideas. You have to apply for the farmers market. All of this stuff is happening. So it's very challenging. And at the same time, the freedom that it does give you to make your own schedule and pick up your daughter and stuff like that is also wonderful. So it's like you just have to choose your heart, There are, I pay some of my friends' kids cash to put labels on candles for me, so there are things that I'm doing to get support. But yeah, the business stuff that's just how small businesses are. And I think what's really important is when you feel overwhelmed, like I did, I took my dog for a walk, get out in sunshine, take some space, because your mental and emotional health come first no matter what.
So important. Yeah. So small business life is something you have to wear all the hats and do everything. Whereas in a larger organization, right? There'd be specializers, people who specialize in different.
And you get to be
aspects.
in your zone of genius. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My zone of genius is not the numbers. And luckily my husband does a lot of that, but you have to do all the stuff that's not your zone, which makes that's the hardest part. When you're in your zone of genius, whatever that is, you could work all night. You love it,
Yes, I know.
You're like, I have been working all night.
I have been there. So yeah, not for the faint of heart, that business ownership. No. So keep it up, sister. It looks like you are on the right track for sure. So, but here, this is just like a little question. If you had to, because I imagine, ABQ Mom does attract people who are new to town or are going to move here, as you know, it attracted you.
Yeah.
If you had to create like a new to Albuquerque starter kit, if you
Mm-hmm.
will, what do you think you'd put in it?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this because I'm like, oh, what direction would I take people? First off, there would be a membership to the zoo botanical garden situation.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I did. Because it's beautiful. It's going to make you happy you're in Albuquerque. It's going to give you a reason to go out on the weekends or whatever. So I would get a membership in there. And then go get a Blake's Lotaburger, New Mexico style, start to embrace the green chili as soon as you can. Also, get a bag of red chilies and practice making sauce because I still have not been able to perfect it. Thanksgiving was a disaster. It was too thin. Then I put in flour and it was like gelatin. It was horrible. So start to get on your green chili game. But get out, get hiking boots, start to go out in nature because the nature is stellar. And the meetups that the ABQ Mom Club does, like especially like I like the ones that were the park meetups. That was really great for me because of the ones I went to had vendor tables, different businesses. This was amazing because this was when I must have been in the summer. So I must have been, fairly, very new. I was like, oh my God, great. A dentist, a pediatric dentist. Thank you. I'll take your card. Okay. This is a school. I love what you're saying about this school. Great. I'll take your card. It's like a one-stop shop for, for everything I need. And then every single person I talked to was so kind. That's the thing I notice here. The kindness of everyone is amazing. So the more you can go out and experience that kindness, there is I think people feel what's the word, like proud to live here, and so I think you'll feel that. And I say that because everyone's got Zia earrings, like everyone does. And so one of part of the starter pack is to get your turquoise Zia. Okay. You have to get that. And that'll get you in right away. But yeah, honestly, what really made me feel good here was being outside. Go to the zoo, get into nature as soon as you can, go to some of the beautiful parks and walk into some local businesses too, like the owners probably working there. In this strip where I am, every single one is a local business owner who is literally in their shop right now, so you could go into any local shop and make a connection right away, ask for a recommendation. Here's another thing. If you go into one place, right, ask that owner, that person for the next recommendation and literally hop around Albuquerque based on the recs you are getting from the person before. I think that's an awesome way to do it.
Oh, I love that. That's a great idea. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Jumping right in. I love this starter kit. I feel like this could be a whole article all on its own.
Oh my God. Should I write it?
Yes, you should. Okay. On your list. Put it on your list because you don't have anything else
I know.
to do.
Add more to the list. Let's do it.
Is there anything that you wish you would have known before moving here that was like, surprising to you?
Okay. Two things. One is that there is indeed traffic on 40 during rush hour.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't think there would be. I was like, oh, I don't know. So I live in the South Valley, but everything I do is in the Northeast, and I have to move here now to the Northeast because the traffic, So yes, there is heavy traffic on 40 during rush hour. So there. But also, the stuff we hear about the crime and this and that, dude, it's fine. It's not like, don't go sell drugs at midnight, in the international district. Like, don't do that.
You won't get murdered if you don't.
Then you won't get murdered. Right. Exactly. Like, because I have a toddler, I'm home by 5 p.m., and my cute little car is in its cute little garage. Like, I go out, I come here, I go. So I guess, when we moved here, so much people were saying, oh, the crime or this or that. And one guy, we went to a brewery, and one guy even said, like, well, get ready for your car to be stolen, and just negative crap.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived in New York City. I lived in East Harlem. I lived in East LA. I've lived these places, okay? And Albuquerque is totally fine. I have never felt unsafe. Anywhere you live, don't be dumb. Don't leave your purse on your seat with the car unlocked. Don't do it. And if there's someone that makes you uncomfortable, turn and walk away. And these are basic rules. So I guess I wish that any fear that was trying to be instilled in me by people who don't live here, by the way, I wish I hadn't even entertained it 1%, the 1% that I did, because this is a beautiful, diverse, cultural, layered town. And actually, you know what? I'm taking this back. Everyone who's considering of moving here, it's scary. Don't do it, because I don't want anyone else moving here. This is our place. Let's keep it a gem. Let's keep it secret. Yes, it's horrible. Don't move here.
Great advice. Great advice. Yeah, I sometimes listen to true crime podcasts, and I've noticed,
Vanessa, I listen to them all the time.
Right. Well,
all the time. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's for so that I can be smart and not put myself in bad situations. And I like learn how to be safe from these podcasts. And I feel like almost everyone, very rarely do I come across one and it's like this person is totally minding their business and they, are killed or whatever. But for the most part, it's somebody like doing something dumb that they shouldn't be doing, right?
Well, and I just heard a statistic on one of those true crime podcasts that 85% of crime is someone you know. So a family member, a friend, a bad situation that you're in. It is very rare that you just, get murdered randomly.
And it's completely random. Sure.
Yeah. And also in all the true crime I've listened to, nothing has ever happened in New Mexico. Nothing is ever like, I'm taking you to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where we have murders to tell you about. No, it's like yesterday was Milwaukee. I mean, it's just like,
there is a whole true crime podcast about New Mexico, but they live here. And so they're just doing the stories that are here, So do you, what is maybe is your best advice? If someone's like starting fresh in a new place, you have some like advice for her or him?
In a new place in general. Yeah. I think first of all, go through that grieving process. Like we talked about, the grieving process of changing location. We go through that grieving process of, no matter where you leave, there's a story there, right? There's like, gosh, even the house we were in for a second, I was like, that's where I brought home my baby, right? So I was like, grieving that. So go through that. But then the soonest you can explore the local taste, right? Or of wherever you are, like the farmers markets, because the farmers markets are going to typically have local businesses, right? And so then all the local businesses. If there's live music at a local place, go to that, right? The more you can it's like dating your new city. Get to know the city, the faster you can get to know its, I guess its culture or all its uniqueness. If you like breweries, go in. Like I always say, what local beer do you have? I always want to do like a local thing. Again, like I said before, ask for recommendations, but the sooner you can fall in love with wherever you are, the better. And it also doesn't mean that it's forever. Like I lived in Des Moines, Iowa, and that will always have a special place in my heart. Did I want to live there forever? Absolutely not. But
a lot of snow, sister.
Too much snow for me. But it has a special place in my heart. So does North Carolina. Like all of these places I lived, I fell in love with enough that they still live there and I appreciate them. But, I think I could see where if you're sad, and I've met people who are here because they had to be, right? A job or whatever. And sometimes I sense this resistance from them, especially because they know they're moving on. This is with like the Air Force here, the military and stuff. They know they're moving on, so I'm not going to get in too deep. This actually just happened. I asked someone at the park, why they moved here, whatever. She's like, oh, it wasn't by choice. And there's a lot I like, but there's a lot I really don't like. And it just seemed like that's how you want to see it though. And it's fair to not like a place. That's totally fair too. But see if while you're here, you can just open up to maybe love it and see what happens.
Love that. Well, there are a few questions that we ask all of our guests. So I wanted to get your local recommendation, just one place that you're loving right now that you and your family like to go.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to do one that's probably going to be an eye roll, but listen, that's who I am. Okay. Allsup's breakfast burritos.
Okay.
The gas station.
You've discovered them.
Yes, that's the thing. See how I'm still discovering? So where we live now in the South Valley, we're right across the street from a brand new Allsup's. And I had some friends over and they were like, oh my God, I bet you're like just in heaven with all the burritos and the taquitos. I was like, what are you talking about? So since we are moving, we've been going every day getting our Allsup's breakfast burritos. So yes, that's my rec.
Hard to go wrong with gas station food. Right?
Yeah.
And then what are you watching or listening to or reading right now or recently that you would recommend?
Okay, so there's a book I'm listening to because mom hack, there's no time to sit down and open a book and read. And if there is, please tell me how you're doing it. So I listen when, I'm driving or I'm going for a walk or anything like that. So I listen to the 5-hour school week. Yes. And it's basically an approach to homeschooling, where I think folks, when they think of homeschooling, they think of you're sitting there for 6 hours with a ruler on the board, teaching your child. And I'm like, how? I don't know anything about science. Like, what am I going to do? But my daughter's 2, so we're thinking about what we want to do for school and stuff like that. And I've been exploring a hybrid or homeschooling because we just want the flexibility of being able to go to the zoo in the middle of the day or hike or whatever, right? So this 5-hour school week shows you how possible it is that really all you need is 1 hour of concentrated work. And then they actually kind of keep learning on their own because they're interested, right? And you really work on what they're interested in. So anyway, 5-hour school week.
Okay. Check it out. I think even for those of us who send our kids to school, it could be helpful.
Yeah. And also that's the thing too, how they talk about it is they went on a 10-day vacation and they were feeling overwhelmed with all the schoolwork that they had to make up for, because of going on vacation for 10 days. Yeah. They got it done in 2 hours. So even if you do have kids in school, you can see how you can make up for the time if you do want to take a longer vacation.
Love it. Okay. Do you have a most embarrassing mom moment? These are always
my God.
And
I do.
Usually deal with bodily fluids, so don't feel
Okay. I was like, Vanessa, I do. And if you need me to record another one because this is not acceptable, then you let me know. Okay.
Go for it.
I already said where my daughter goes, and I'm not going to repeat it. I hope everyone forgot, so they don't know where this happened. But it's not about them; it's about me. So we live across town now, and there's a lot of morning traffic, and I'm drinking my coffee, in the car, and my husband's driving, and I'm like, and we're running late, of course, and I'm like, honey, I gotta go to the bathroom, like real bad, like this is not good. We're in the middle of traffic. I don't know if you're gonna have to go to the gas station, but like, let's just get her there, So I'm like uncomfortable. I'm moving. I'm like, oh, this is horrible. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use the bathroom at her daycare when we get there. So we get there and I run in and I said, can I use your bathroom? Can I run and use your bathroom? So she starts playing, she starts doing her thing. I run into the bathroom. I'm there for a bit. And okay, great. There's, first of all, There's no toilet paper. So I'm like, awesome. So I'm like, what kind of daycare is this? No. And then, so I use paper towel. And then I clog the toilet.
No.
At my daughter's daycare.
Well, we've all been there.
In the morning. I'm like, they're playing. What do I do? So anyway, there was a plunger there. I didn't have to bring attention to it, thank God. But it was definitely like 20 minutes later. I like walked out of like, thanks guys, see you later.
Like, don't mind me.
Oh my God, like just the worst. So anyway.
Oh, it happens to the best of us for sure. Well, Olivia, I think that Albuquerque is so lucky to have you here. And we're so glad that you are and that you've embraced this place and its people. And we just really appreciate you. And
thanks for saying that. Even though I just told you the story about clogging the toilet at my daughter's daycare, I really appreciate you still saying we're glad to have you at Albuquerque.
We are. All the pieces of it, right? Good, bad and ugly. Thanks for tuning in to the New Mexico Momcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's conversation, we would love it if you left us a review. It helps more moms find us. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at NMMomcast and at ABQMom_ for more connection, resources, and updates. See you next time.